Howdy there, friends. Welcome to Everything Coptic. I've been reading the Didache recently, and I like it. What is this? Have you heard of this book? It's the writings of the 12 apostles, mainly one sermon. But what's really cool about it is we get to see the apostles' mind immediately after the Lord. And if you've read works from the 4th century, you can see there's a huge amount of development that went on between that 1st century and the 4th century. A lot happened in between. I really dig that because that shows the way that the Holy Spirit has worked in the mind of the church and the work in the apostles and also the Apostolic fathers and the church fathers. So what did I just say? I just said apostles, apostolic fathers, the fathers. Okay, so what happened is after Christ, he had the apostles who he taught and he gave them his teachings. Now, of course, he ascends into heaven, the Holy Spirit comes down and enlightens their minds. So now these are the foundation of the church, the 12 apostles. Well, they had disciples themselves. They taught people, and those fathers that they taught became the apostolic fathers. And of course, they teach and taught. They have their own disciples. From here we get the transmission of our faith and then transmission of ideas. What does that mean? The church understands things in a certain way. And we need to understand how they understand such things. The understanding is what's orthodox. Orthodox meaning, of course, straightforward. We understand things in a straightforward way because that's how we received it from the apostles. So then why should I read a book like the Didache if it's so old? It's not as developed as, say, Saint Athanasius, Saint Cyril. It's not as developed as the 4th century writings. It's more archaic, if you would. It's simpler. You can tell it's totally different. You can see the different values of the apostles. So let me mention a few kind of cool instances where the apostles kind of did things because that's how they were taught. So for example, they're giving instruction on how to have communion. What should our Sunday liturgy look like? And they say, well, you go up to your upper room, you set up your Jewish Seder, Passover meal. Everyone gets together, and you eat, and hang out, have fellowship, koinonia, if you want to use the Greek. And then when that's all done, you bring up a cup after supper, and there's bread and there's wine, and you pray over such, and you pray certain prayers of thanksgiving, and you pray certain prayers of petition, and then you have a sermon, and you break the bread, and you have the wine together. And those who aren't baptized, they'll be outside of the table. The Christians will be there at the dinner table, and everyone else they're thinking about it, the catechumen, we'll have them on the outside. What are the apostles doing? They're establishing, on the one hand, the rite of communion, but on the other hand, they're basing such on the Last Supper. And they're saying, look, the way we did it then is the way we'll do it now, is the way you should do it. And what's cool is we don't see that now. What we see now is our liturgy at the altar. However, we can see that 1st century type of liturgy when we pray St. Cyril's liturgy, which St. Cyril took St. Mark's liturgy and adapted it to fit the times and to fit the 4th century mode of prayer. Another example of where the apostles took what they were taught or what they saw and then taught that as a rite was baptism. So they said, look, if you want to be baptized, you need cold running water, maybe a river. Go out to the river, baptize them. Now, if you can't get, a river for whatever reason, at least get cold water. At least get something. Try your best. And it should be outdoors. If it needs to be indoors, that's fine. But what were they doing? The apostles were pretty much trying to replicate Christ's baptism in the Jordan. And that's how they saw it. The way the Lord did it, that's the way we want to do it. And that was the spirit that they carried. As the Lord did, so shall we. And that's a spirit that we should carry. As the Lord did, so shall we. As the apostles did, so shall we. As the church does, so we do too. And that's why the church carries that spirit of the apostles. That's why they're on the top of the iconostases. and that's why we are called an apostolic church, because we follow their example, and that's the example that we teach. So I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe, and glory be to God forever. Amen.